How do you work successfully with people across different countries, cultures, and time zones? That's what we're exploring today as we're joined by Josh Gould. He's the group CEO of The Big Word, a global language service company working across more than 80 countries with around 15,000 linguists and contractors. Josh leads while traveling between markets including the UK, US, India, and Israel. And he's learned that what works brilliantly in one country can fail badly in another. We'll talk about trust, remote leadership, what global companies look for in freelancers and contractors, and which human skills become even more valuable as AI changes the way we work. My name is Palle Bo, and I'm here with my co-host Alexandra, and this is the Nomad Summit podcast. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you for having me, Palle and Alexandra.
Hello. Welcome.
We're on different sides of the planet, almost upside down time-wise. Alexandra and I, we're in Chiang Mai, and you're in sunny Miami, Florida.
I am. So I've been on the road for the last 2 months, traveling around the US, the Middle East, and Europe, visiting our offices, working from different offices, different hotel rooms. It's been a crazy summer, so we just landed back a few days ago. My kids are getting back into school.
So you brought your kids?
I do. I try and bring my kids as much as possible. First of all, it's great for them and for their development.
Oh, yeah.
And second of all, it's great for me.
And they have 20 years of career experience by the time they're 20.
You know, I often joke, but it's true. It's a privilege and an advantage to grow up in a household where your parents run companies. My wife runs a frozen food company. I run The Big Word. So they get to see and absorb all these things that no school could teach them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that influences you so much. I was talking about it with a friend of mine at some point where, we were discussing our own entrepreneurial journeys and everything that we're doing with our careers. And I suddenly had this realization that my dad is an entrepreneur and my friend's parents are both entrepreneurs as well. Like his dad is a business owner, his stepdad is a business owner, his mother was always doing some entrepreneurial ideas, different kind of small businesses. And I was like, did you ever think about the fact that it's not just random that we both ended up at this point? This was actually so much of the family influence. And I've never thought about that much until that point. And I don't think my friend realized it as well until we had that conversation.
You're statistically 8 times more likely to follow your parents' career than randomly pick that same career. So it makes sense.
I don't know where I fit in because I come from a family where there were no entrepreneurs. Both my parents worked for the government, and I started my first business when I was 20 and have started many since. So I don't know where that came from. I'm the black sheep in the family.
I was just going to say that, the black sheep.
that came from your soul. Entrepreneurship is romanticized, but it's not necessarily always good. I think people see the word entrepreneur and it's sexy and it's exciting, but being an entrepreneur, you're a gambler and, it's difficult.
Yeah, my favorite quote about entrepreneurship is, I didn't want to work 9 to 5, so I started my own business. Now I work 24/7.
And that's what I'm saying. I'll go and visit our call centers and I see at 5:30, they all leave. And there is a part of me, if I'm being open and honest, and I try in all these podcasts to be bluntly and crudely honest because I'm sick of seeing CEOs give canned answers. But there's a big part of me that I bury deep inside that's incredibly envious that they're now going to the pub and they couldn't give a rat's you-know-what about what's happening in the business. And they're going to spend all weekend now having fun, being with their family, not giving business a second thought. And I'm unable to do that. And I think every entrepreneur is unable to do that. On the flip side of that, I have more freedom than they do.
Uh-huh.
If I was to retire today, I probably could. If, God forbid, someone close to me fell sick, I could go and look after them.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have to ask anyone's permission. So life has a way of balancing itself out.
Yeah, I started working today 11, 12 hours ago, and I still have at least 4 hours of work before I can call it a day. So, and that's just a normal Friday.
Yeah, and that's an easy day.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like work. I enjoy what I do, but sometimes I just want to chill in front of the couch. I must admit.
Well, I do
in front of the couch. I mean, on the couch.
Yeah, I do that, by the way. I work like crazy. I travel like crazy. But if it's 3:00 in the afternoon on a Friday, I'll turn on my favorite team, Leeds Rhinos. It's a rugby team, if you're not familiar with it. And I'll watch us play, and I don't feel an ounce of guilt.
No.
But on Sundays, I'm checking in, I'm seeing who's coming online on India and seeing what's going on. So I think this is something that society has created, this macho, I'll work all the time, anytime. And it's not necessarily good. And that's why I bring my kids along with me. I'm quite nomadic. I always have been. My wife is as well. We travel. We never stay in one place for too long. I've lived all over the world. I moved to Miami from New Jersey, which is 1,200 miles away. But you have to also sometimes look after yourself and be a bit forgiving because it's, it's a short life. And you only have this one body. You got to make it last.
Yeah. So from New Jersey to Florida, but you're not American?
I'm English, originally English. I left England at 12 years old, came back at 14. After that was my first time traveling. And that was my parents. My parents sold their business and we went traveling. And it was a terrible age to go traveling because, as a teenager, you need your friends, you're finding your identity.
Yeah.
And actually, we came to Thailand. We traveled around Thailand and Asia, all of Asia. And I hated it. I would get panic attacks. I vowed that I was never going to leave Leeds, which is where I was from. And at 18, I went to London. I never went to college. And from there, I went to China.
Huh.
I spent 3 months in China. We acquired a business in China. So I put my hand up, volunteered for the family business, went to China, did the merger there, and then realized that I want to continue. So I went to New York. And New York was awesome. It was a city that never slept. You could do your laundry at 3 a.m, 4 a.m. London was just too slow for me. The tube would close down at midnight. And
I don't think they do that anymore. I think they started running all night. Yeah.
And then I met my wife and we had our first baby and we needed some space because, we had a 1-bedroom. And I know a lot of people, they put a crib inside the shower and stay living in Manhattan. But we weren't prepared to do that. So we just moved outside of Manhattan to New Jersey. And then we were there for 12 years. And that was a long time for both of us to stay anywhere. And now we live in Miami, but we still both travel all the time. We travel for work and we bring our kids along the ride and they feel a bit like I did growing up. Part of it is amazing and part of it's very nerve-wracking and they'll make their own decision in a few years when they leave home.
How old are they?
They're teenagers. They're mid-teens, both of them.
Tell us a little bit about what the big word is.
So the big word is probably a company that you interact with on almost a daily basis, but you've never heard of us.
Uh-huh.
And I think you started off, Palle, saying that we're on different sides of the world, which is true. And it's amazing. And we can speak to each other and we can hear each other and we can communicate. But that's because you are doing me the favor of speaking English. And I don't speak any other languages, ironically, because the big word is a language company.
I was just about to ask how many languages you speak.
Yeah, so I don't speak any, and I'm the reason why the big word probably exists, and people like me.
You don't even speak American.
No, exactly, or I speak a mashup now of Yorkshire and American.
Yeah, mid-Atlantic.
Exactly. So what we do is we essentially exist to eradicate the final barrier of communication, which is language, because we can have this call and we can speak and we can see each other and there's a lot of non-verbal that goes on. But what we can't do is just speak any language we want. And that's where the big word becomes the enabler. And we're primarily a government contractor. So any immigrants that are coming into the UK and many countries in Europe, they come in and they get supported by the government, and the government contracts out to us. So when they want to claim asylum and they're coming into the border, whether they're given it or not, regardless of your political belief system, we create the fair process along with the government by giving them the ability to understand what's being said in their own language. Many of them come in and they're phenomenal citizens and they pay a lot more tax than they take. In fact, by far, that's the case. Some of them don't, and they get in trouble and they end up in court. And we provide the interpreters in the courts, in the police stations across Europe and sometimes the US. We provide interpretation in the healthcare systems here in the US so that you can understand. And I often joke, but it's not really a joke, it's true, that if you ever come in contact with my interpreter, it's a bad day. It means you're in a police station, you're in a prison, you're in a healthcare system, or you're in some kind of government process.
Yeah.
It can also be a great day.
Yeah.
You could be told that you're getting the all clear from cancer. So it can be a great day, but often it's not. And we also do some translation for companies that are as big as countries' GDPs. So often you'll be using products and programs. If you're using Chrome right now, you're interacting with a product that we have some kind of influence over.
Wow.
That's why I often say we are a company that you've never heard of, but you probably interact with products that we are involved with on a daily basis. We have about 15,000 human linguists, and we have an infinite number of AI linguists. And a linguist could be a translator, could be a transcriber, it could be an interpreter. Translation being the written word, interpreting being the spoken word. And we frankly don't care whether it's AI or whether it's human. We're like Airbnb. We don't own any of our own apartments or buildings. We don't own our interpreters. We don't own our translators. They are freelancers. They are independent contractors. They are nomads. And they are free to work whenever they want to work, however they want to work with us. But what we do provide them is a business in a box. So through the WordSync network, they can accept and decline jobs, take any types of jobs they want. Some of them have anti-terrorism cleared. Some of them are top secret cleared. Nearly all of them are some kind of clearance, though, to work with government. And they accept and decline jobs. And depending on what kind of job, depends on where they are. And, for example, if you're providing healthcare services here in the US, because of HIPAA compliance, they have to be somewhere in the US. So this is what we do, and we do it all day, every day. And by the end of this podcast, we probably have done thousands of jobs have come through the WordSync platform.
But it seems crazy. You said 15,000. I know that they're not full-time employees, but that's a lot of people to handle and manage.
Yeah, I mean, they are great. They look after themselves in a way. And it's a community. We can't exist without the linguists, and they can't really exist without us. I've been challenged in the past by linguists. In fact, I was once called a capitalist pig when I was on stage. And I said to this nice lady who was just irritated and angry, I don't know if she'd had a bad day. And I said, so how much money do you spend on sales and marketing? And she says, I don't. So I said, well, we spend many millions dollars and pounds and euros to bring you work. We travel literally millions of miles to do sales pitches, fill out RFPs, to bring you the business. And I said, and how much time do you spend collecting money? Because we pay you every 15 days and we don't get paid often for 30 to 60 days. So we're essentially giving you a free loan. And she actually came up to me at the end of the conference and she said, why don't you tell people that? Because I didn't really understand what you did. I just thought you were taking 30% of what I make. And I think a lot of Uber drivers often complain about the same thing. So here I am on the podcast explaining it.
Yeah, these kind of platforms and businesses are the ones that take so much load in terms of responsibility and marketing expenses. And then people only complain that they're taking the cut, which is actually more than fair.
Yeah, and risk as well. As entrepreneurs, we mortgage our house and invest that into our businesses. And quite often when we're talking about budgets and salaries, we have 500 employees in our offices. And people will often say, I don't think it's fair. And I'll say, well, will you bet your house on it? Because I'll sell you the stock of the big word at the same price I bought in 5 years ago when I sold 75% to private equity. And if you'll take a mortgage against your house and bet on it, I'll give you the same deal as I'm taking. And no one's ever taken me up on it. In fact, one person once said, I can give you £10,000, but never came through.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about the different cultures, because when you're in so many different countries, there must be a lot of difference in culture. I know that you have an experience where a strategy worked very well in one market and then absolutely didn't in another.
Yeah, I don't ever think that you should be a global business. I think you should be a collection of local companies. And what I mean by that is your business model, your strategy, your people don't translate. And I'm a localization business, so I advise on this, but it doesn't typically translate very well. And the very best companies know this. So if you go to a McDonald's in India, it doesn't look like a McDonald's. It doesn't taste like a McDonald's. Now, most Americans believe that, a Big Mac or a Whopper is the same in every country. It's not. They've localized. It's still got the M. It's still recognizable as a McDonald's. It still has its DNA, but you'll get a spicy burger because the Indians won't buy a McDonald's that an American wants to buy. And that's what I learned the hard way. When we went to China, we were a huge failure. We made an acquisition and it was a disaster because we would sell on quality and people said, we don't buy quality. We buy the cheapest price possible to check the box for the European Union. And it was a big wake-up call, that.
I just listened to the latest 4-hour episode of the podcast Acquired, which is amazing.
Yes.
And they did one about IKEA, and they said that it worked many places, and then they launched in Japan. And it just wasn't for the Japanese mindset to, first of all, they didn't really like the style. And the thing that they should assemble it themselves,
Yes.
and it comes in a flat pack. It was not for the Japanese.
There's a lot of examples like that. I have another one just over here. There are a lot of Korean barbecue restaurants or shabu shabu. I love shabu shabu. I go with my Thai friend every week pretty much. But she's the only friend with whom I can go because most of my other friends are like, I have to go to the restaurant and cook my own food. What are you talking about? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, I have to admit, I felt the same when I first went to Korean barbecue. But there's a good example that I have. I have a friend, a close friend of mine, and he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, beanbag manufacturer in Europe. And a lot of people like beanbags because it's cheap furniture and it's pliable and you can put them in kids' rooms. He came to America and he thought, wow, the biggest market. And he spent a lot of money opening up in America, shipping his stock, getting his SEO right. And no one bought his beanbags. And the reason why wasn't the beanbag itself, because it's a phenomenal product. It was because it was hard to ship. And in America, when we click on Amazon, we expect same day delivery and at a push next day delivery. And we don't want to pay for delivery. Well, a beanbag is a ginormous product that weighs nearly nothing, but costs a lot of money to ship. So he had to increase his price to kind of fit, because he understood the American market. He had to increase his price. The other thing he didn't realize about America is Americans don't pay for quality. If they did, they wouldn't build cars that are designed to break or phones that are designed to break after 2 or 3 years. Americans want things that look good. We want them quickly. We want them to work, and then we want to throw them away. That fast fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having an argument yesterday in the gym with someone, and he was saying that even Toyota now don't make quality cars. And I said, of course they don't make quality cars. They make the cars you want to buy. And what you, as a society want to buy is not high quality. You want something that's safe and you want it to look good and you want it to last 3 years because that's your lease and then it's over and someone else is going to then buy that car at 50% discount and realize that they're going to have to fix it up. So people in each culture buy different things. And we at The Big Word have had to decide not to enter markets simply because we don't want to sell low quality. So we don't sell in India anymore. We don't sell in China, but we have big presences in those countries because we use them as administration offices where we can access really top talent at a price that's very cheap compared to the US or the UK or the Netherlands where we have big sales presence.
So did you learn it the hard way? Did you make some mistakes along the way?
Of course, like any entrepreneur, people will tell you, but you have to make your own mistakes. I have 2 children like that. I can tell them what not to do, but I know they're going to do it anyway until they've felt the pain. And then they're going to correct and realize I was right. Only in my 40s did I realize how much I should have just listened to my father, and I would have probably been 10 years ahead. But I don't expect my kids to do that. And we as a business didn't. We went and we thought the Chinese are going to love us and the Indians are going to love us. And these are amazing markets that are growing so fast compared to Europe, and we're all going to be billionaires. And then we went there, and I remember I toured a OBGYN clinic in Shanghai, and it had translation. They were very happy to show me, and it was called Pussy Clinic. And I explained to them that, what that means, and they were embarrassed. And at the end of it, they said, we don't need good translation. We have the best prices. And even if we have an embarrassing sign, people will come to us because we have good doctors at best prices.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. I mean, China is not very translation friendly, English friendly, foreigner friendly from what I heard from our very own Nomad Summit co-owner, Christoph, who just went there back in April or May and was struggling with the language because nothing is translated anywhere.
Yeah. And neither should they be. I think we who speak English got used to being able to travel anywhere and speak in English. And I have noticed a movement now to being proud of your language and refusing to speak English. I was just in Israel, and most Israelis speak really, really good English. And I noticed that restaurants stopped translating and signs stopped, these are in anglicized areas. And Israel is very European. It's very American. You go there, Tel Aviv is like, I would say, like a mashup of Sao Paulo and New York City. And, some of the biggest, like NVIDIA's just opening a massive startup office there, which is incredible. Microsoft has got a massive office there. And a lot of drugs are coming out of Israel, incredible drugs for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
Oh, that kind of drugs.
Yeah, I thought about
yeah. No, not the other type of drugs. It's not very good for drugs. It's hard to smuggle these days.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Wow.
What?
Yeah. So it's an amazing epicenter, but they're starting to only want to speak Hebrew. Even the people who are American and English living there. And I've seen the same now start to spread around the world. Now, that's not everywhere because everywhere goes through a transition. Thailand, as you know, was a very cheap place for people to retire. You get a lot of people who had moved there, and it makes money from being that. But one day, you never know, you may have to all start speaking Thai.
Yeah, which is very interesting trend considering that the world is also getting more and more globalized, and there's actually more and more international connections and companies, and it's so much easier for people to, work together across countries and so on. So I don't know how I feel about that sticking to native language trend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a language guy, but I have to tell you, it was irritating yesterday. I went to play pickleball in Miami, and there wasn't a word of English spoken.
Wow.
And the people I'm playing with, it was an open place. I didn't know the people I was playing with. and the people I'm playing with struggle to speak English to me. So it is nice to have a common language. Over 70% of people that live in Miami's mother tongue is not English. It's primarily Spanish, followed by Haitian Creole. And I played in Little Haiti yesterday, so Haitian Creole was a big language, and then French. And after that, it was Brazilian Portuguese, and then I heard Hebrew. One language I didn't hear was English. So it was a relief when I went to the pickleball shop to buy some water, and the woman was American. It was like almost I wanted to kiss her just for being able to speak to her.
Josh, can you also tell us a bit more about remote management and building remote teams, and how is it for you working globally with people in different countries, not from the entrepreneur perspective, but from a manager perspective, let's say, in terms of hiring and managing, dealing with people?
Yeah, so the big word is a hybrid workforce. We have offices with people in, but we also have many people who are full-time employees of the company that work from home anywhere between 2 and or 5 days a week. And the key from a management perspective is hire the right person. There are plenty of people in this world, you know you are, who can't work from home because they won't work. Or they'll say they work, but they'll do 4 hours a day. So first of all, you've got to find someone who wants to succeed, who wants to be great, who takes pride over their work and isn't just doing it because they're getting paid. So number one, work from home isn't for everyone. Second of all, I don't recommend to any 18-year-old to come out of school and work from home because you won't learn at the same speed as you would learn in an office with people. I don't recommend university to anyone who isn't going to become a doctor or a lawyer. So, if you're not going to do that, you're wasting your money with university. Go and work in an office. But once you've got a certain amount of experience, you can then come and get a job in a place like The Big Word, and it will give you huge freedom for the most part. And what we do is, to answer your question, Alexandra, directly, is we use data. We have a lot of systems that tell us how people are doing, that make it easy for them to communicate through Microsoft Teams, through Viva Engage. We also have meetings where the first quarter of the meeting, we just chat. And I think people have got so obsessed about efficiency, or the fallacy of efficiency.
Yeah.
And I would say we're one of the most efficient businesses, but we chat about soccer, rugby, politics, all the taboos that you're not supposed to talk about, because that's what makes us human. And that's what helps build trust. And then we get on planes and we visit each other and we see each other, because you can only go so far with a screen. So it really is a mix of making sure that you see each other. I'm on a flight or a hotel over 100 days a year for the business, sometimes 200 days a year. I'm on Teams all the time speaking to people. And then we use systems, CRMs, data to manage efficiency. And we know when people are spending 3 hours every single day looking after their kids when they're supposed to be working full time. And there's nothing wrong with looking after kids. I'm a parent. My wife's a parent. We both work. But if you're taking a full-time job, you owe it to your company. The world doesn't need more kids. We're overpopulated, in my opinion. You owe it to your company to do the minimum number of hours that you need to do your job, whether that be 8 or 12 or 15. And the other thing is, we often professorize that we don't pay you for tasks. That's what we pay our linguists for, our freelance network. We pay you to be phenomenal, to be amazing, to be irresistible, and the too tempting to resist. Which means if you can do all your tasks in 4 hours, you don't go to the swimming pool. I've got the beach to the left of me. I can't go on there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon simply because I did all my tasks. I have to then add value. I have to then think about something else to do that can wow our client base, wow our employee base or linguists.
I'm always on the edge of should that be something that is even expected out of hired employees? Because of course we want them to be like that, But if they were that kind of person, they would probably already like run their own business or do something else.
I don't know. People typically meet expectations. So if your expectation is they don't, well, they won't. And, we have people like that in the big word. They didn't meet expectations. They no longer work with us. We want people who exceed expectations because my competitors are brilliant. They get up early. They work really hard. They spend millions of dollars in building technology. If I want to beat them, if I want to provide a service that exceeds theirs, I have to work harder, and there's no shortcut. Believe me, I've tried every get-rich-quick scheme that you can think of, at least all the legal ones, and they don't work. The only get-rich-quick scheme that works is the lottery, and I'm still failing at that as well. But I have heard that people can succeed on that. All other get-rich-quick schemes that work, you end up in jail. So if you're a freelancer, and there are lots of nomads that are, then that's up to you because you really are getting paid by task. You're selling your time at that point. There's nothing wrong with it. So you have to decide what you want in life. But if you're working for me in my office as a full-time employee, the minimum expectations is 8 solid hours a day and sometimes 12 to 15 hours a day if that's what's needed. You fly on weekends so that we don't ruin the weeks. And it's really, really hard, but you get paid for it.
Yeah. Amazing, Josh. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This episode of the Nomad Summit podcast was hosted by Alexandra Masnitska and Palle Bo.
No hash.
The theme music was by Divyas Shea, aka Divi the Audio Nomad.
สวัสดีค่ะ
And it was produced by me, Palle Bo, of radioguru.co.uk.